Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. The summer of love has finally started in France, in our neighboring country to the west. Yeah, they had a very intense summer of love, I think 17 years ago already. But this summer of love is taking place in the age of TikTok and Instagram and social media. So it can be documented much better, and also these uh, participants in this love event, they can organize much better via social media. There are many parallels to what happened a couple of years ago in the United States. The BLM tour that we saw there. Um, many parallels. I will go over them quickly in today's short talk. And I also have to say, well, in Germany, we never had something on that scope. Yeah, never something that started this way, and never something, that was that big. Yeah, so I will compare that a little bit, but mostly I want to talk briefly about what happened, and as I said, the parallels to the US, which is interesting because France and the US are very different countries, and all these attempts at explaining that by socio-economic situations and environments, I don't think there is a lot merit of these talking points. It doesn't make sense because the very same thing happens in completely different countries, and the only thing that's the same is that there is a old majority European stock population, indigenous in France, and migrated a while ago in the US. And there are exotic people who just hate them. And that is the big parallel, and that is the way to explain that. And all this other stuff, marginalization and blah, and poverty. No, that has nothing to do with that whatsoever. But of course, most of you know that anyway. So, what happened? I think on Tuesday there was a traffic check. There was a very suspicious driver, a 17-year-old Arab lad, at the wheel, at the steering wheel of a fast, expensive car, I believe. And maybe he was driving suspicious, who knows? And by the way, in France, same as in Germany, I think, you can only get a driver's license from the age of 18. So the car was probably stolen, and the kid was definitely driving without a license. He's too young to drive. Yeah, so that's one thing. Yeah, maybe not the most important thing, but the media kind of doesn't really mention that. I think it's important. So there was a justified traffic stop, and the situation somehow escalated. There is a video. We don't really know what they said or what really happened. If the cops felt threatened, or if he threatened to run over people or something. Anyway, the officer that was next to him used lethal force, and the young lad is no longer with us right now, just like Saint Floyd back then in the US. So that is the basic, it's not really the same thing, but this is the basic configuration that we're looking at. Yeah? There is an encounter between law enforcement and a young exotic male, and after that encounter, well, if something happens to the officer, no one cares. Yeah? This is it happens all the time, and I've never heard of any violence or something that was sparked by that. It's only if it is the other way around, once a year or so, then everybody is up in arms about it. And let's be quite honest here: these things shouldn't happen, of course. Probably the officer did something wrong. He apologized already to the family of the kid, and he was shocked when he saw the footage. I mean, maybe this is legal, blah blah blah, and his lawyer told him to say that. I have no idea. But what I'm trying to say is that he is under arrest right now, and the French legal system will deal with him and find out what really happened, and what is the appropriate punishment, if there is a punishment, and that's that. But for these exotics, that's not enough, because they don't really respect our legal system and our society in general, our rules here. We had a similar case in Germany. Well, not similar in that way, but it was a kind of a turf war between Arabic gangs or families or mafia clans or something, one from Syria, the other from Lebanon, I think. And they were arguing among each other very violently. And of course, they don't respect our laws, they don't respect our courts. And in the end, it was some kind of exotic judge, some unofficial parallel legal system judge who kind of ended this conflict. Germany, the German courts or German prosecutors, they did nothing. Yeah. So that's something to bear in mind, that these people, these irregular travelers, these new neighbors that we have here, they really do not respect our courts or our legal system whatsoever. Only someone from their own group can be an arbiter here or can try to stop the conflict. Yeah? But this time in France, it's not a turf war between two exotic factions. This time it's the exotics against the French, and they're really trying to hunt down French people in the streets and to hurt them. There was a lot of burnings of property, of businesses, of vehicles, and so on. And it's going on for days right now, and it seems like that the state is not doing too much. Officers are barricading themselves in their office buildings. They're not really, I mean, yeah, there were over 1,000 arrests. That is a lot. 1,000 arrests is a lot when they just try to downplay it in the media. But then, there were actually 1,300 arrests or something. Yeah, and it also spread to Brussels, to Belgium. And that is another thing, you know. Like, Belgium is a different country. It means that French law enforcement or French customs or what is going on in France has pretty much nothing to do with Belgium. So why do the youth, these exotic youth from the Maghreb or something, why do they share their love with the Belgian people now, when Belgium has basically nothing to do with that? Yeah? They're just waiting for a trigger. They see these videos, of course, and they get to know what happened, and they escalate because they're waiting for that. They wanted to do that all along. It's just they needed a spark, an ignition spark, and that happened now. All right, so once again, so you see, very similar to what happened with the St. Floyd situation in the US. They're not really coming from the same countries, though. They're more like Arab, Northern African people. Not so much the exotics you have in the US, but, well, close enough, I guess. The same principles apply. When their people hurt us, nothing happens. I've never heard that a German mob forms and goes through the streets and hunts down people as retaliation for a young German who was harmed by them. And of course, you know that it happens all the time. Every day, basically, a German is hurt by them. In many ways, but nothing of the sort happens, of course. But these exotics here, they're just waiting for something like that to happen, and then they start with their usual program. And now it happens in France, and, well, how should I say that? Maybe there is a French element to that, because the French, we saw that with the Yellow Vest protests, of course, different crowd, but somehow it seems like in France, when it comes to violent protest, there is just a lot more going on in France than in Germany. It seems like maybe there is some sort of interaction between the host culture or the host country and the new arrivals. Maybe that's wishful thinking, or maybe France is just way ahead on the curve compared to Germany, and maybe in 5 years it will be the same here. Or maybe some aspects of German culture kind of imprinted themselves on these new arrivals. It's a hypothesis. I'm not saying this is true, but maybe because the French themselves, they're more prone to, um, you know, acting out like this. Maybe their foreigners also tend to do that more than the ones that are here. I don't know. It's a thought I had, but I'm not saying it's the case. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. And let's see how things go on during the next couple of days in France. Right now, it looks like a war zone. Um, it's absolutely insane. And politicians, um, I mean, some of the voices I heard are so boomerish, like, oh, these young people with their video games and their this has nothing to do with video games, and video games and horror movies did not turn these young people violent. It is just, it seems to be their culture, and it seems that they really hate us and that they have absolutely no inhibitions to act on this hatred, unlike us. I mean, even if a German hates someone, they don't do this kind of stuff. And maybe that's our problem. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But yeah, and also the media. I mean, if you think that I use language in a creative way in order to mask and hide for the AI here on these social media platforms, what I actually try to say, yeah, you should read the reports about what happens in France right now. They're actually calling them demonstrators, and they're calling this a demonstration. So I really wonder, what are their political talking points? What is the thing they want, and are they peaceful like demonstrators? Yeah, is it? I mean, this is insane. Yeah. So the kind of language they use in order to describe what's happening is completely missing the point, or even it's outright lying. The way they're reporting about this, the choice of words, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So if you see the pictures, you see burned down buildings everywhere, and rubble on the streets, and burned down cars, lootings of supermarkets and shops. And then if you read the text, then it's like, oh yeah, there were some protests, and there is a demonstration going on, and these young demonstrators, and it doesn't fit. Like, there is a huge divide between what actually happened and the choice of words, and the news reports. But well, I just wanted to tell you, it gets more grotesque. They found a way clearly to do what they do in a more insane and more just more intense way. And I'm still thinking, is there a ceiling to all this? Is there some kind of maximum value of just newspeak and lying and insanity from the side of the media, by kind of trying to whitewash what happened, and trying to make it sound harmless when it's clearly not? Uh, I haven't yet found this kind of ceiling, or this kind of limit in which, according to my belief, at some point we should run. But well, we haven't reached it yet. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.